recording. Awesome. So hi, everybody. I'm sorry if I didn't introduce myself, by the way. I'm Kate. I'm a yoga teacher with Campus Rec. Tonight is going to be 60-minute Candlelight. This is usually a Candlelight Vinyasa class, so we're going to be doing a couple flows, but we're also going to be incorporating some yin into class tonight. So yin is the counterpart to our yang practice, where we're going to be getting deeper than the muscles. We're going to be getting into the connective tissues, the ligaments, the joints, things like that. So we're going to be holding 3 postures for about 2 to 3 minutes each, and using our breath to help us sort of extend the length of that amount of time. I think it's going to be great. So I'm going to start off by reading the waiver for Campus Rec. In order to make these classes as freely accessible as possible to our participants, we'll be using a verbal warning and assumption of risk at the beginning of the class. Participation in this online class is voluntary. Physical activity programs may result in injury, and by participating, you assume the risk of injury that may result from your participation. We strongly recommend that you participate from a space that is suitable for this activity. For example, make sure that you've moved nearby furniture and other potential hazards. If you're participating in a yoga class or a class that involves laying on the ground, we recommend using a mat, or if you don't have one, a carpeted area. Participants are encouraged to stop if they experience pain or injury and should seek appropriate medical advice or care as needed. William & Mary Health and Wellness strongly recommends that each participant have an annual physical examination and follow the advice of your healthcare provider before participating. And that's going to be the only clinical part of our entire class, I promise. So if you have your candle, you're going to place it somewhere in front of your mat at the very top where you can see it. It's going to be sort of a focal point for us. Or if you have other candles, wherever works for you. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So you can click start on the playlist if you're following along with mine or with your own. And we're going to start lying down on our mats today. So in whatever position lying down is most comfortable for you, on your back, facing up at the ceiling. Maybe your eyes close, or you come to a soft gaze on something in front of you in your room, on the ceiling. And we're going to start this way because our class today is really going to be focused on the concept of grounding. It is Earth Week, and so we're going to be celebrating that by reclaiming our connection to the earth and sort of focusing on that throughout our class today. So here, getting started, at first, we're going to begin our class the way we always begin class, by just bringing some gentle awareness to our breath. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. I don't want you to change your breath, not yet anyway. And I definitely don't want you to judge how it feels. I want you to notice your breath and what it feels like today. Maybe that means you notice the length of your inhales versus your exhales, or the temperature of the air as you inhale and exhale. Any quality of your breath that just sort of gets you thinking about it and reflecting on what it feels like to you today. Maybe you very gently begin to bring your breath towards an even space, where the length of your inhales feels like it matches the length of your exhales. It's okay if focusing on your breath or moving it towards an even space. It's okay if this feels unnatural, or if it even feels a little nerve-wracking at first. That's all okay. Just remind the body that everything is okay, and we're just focusing on the breath that we have already. And laying down on this mat, I want you to take your breath on a walk. Maybe you picture your breath kind of like a candle, and you use it to illuminate different parts of the body. But I want you especially right now to focus on each point of contact between your body and the earth. Everywhere that is touching the mat, direct your breath to each place in turn. So maybe you sink the breath down to the heels one at a time. You notice what they feel like on your mat. Maybe your breath moves up the back of your legs and finds at the back of your knees there's some space between the back of your knee and the earth. Explore the space as well. Breathe up into the hips, across the lower back and the tailbone. Maybe your inhale continues up the spine and you notice if there's more space between the lower back and the earth. Or if the back is flat. Breathe up into the rib cage, up the spine, into the shoulders. Notice which parts of those press against the mat. Don't forget to take your breath down the arms, into the elbows, the wrists, maybe even the back of the fingers if we're lying palms up, or the fingertips if we're lying palms down. Your breath moves up the back of your spine, back of your neck, into the head, maybe up to the very crown of the head. And the breath and the intention have now moved across the body. And I want you to imagine each point that it found pressing into the earth, almost like a beacon of light, or something where you can actually feel how the ground supports your body where it's at right now. Reflecting on all of those points in the body, I want you to take exhales to relax the body completely. Feel yourself almost melt further into the earth, as if we were all practicing on sand and it was just giving way just a little bit beneath us. We let the body rest this way. And we focus back on that even breath. Because it's going to help our mind to calm as well. If you would like to set an intention for tonight's practice, I'd invite you to do that now. An intention could be a mantra. It could be the reason you stepped onto your mat tonight. It could be a reflection of what you're trying to get out of practice, or of especially this connection with the earth that we're trying to foster. If you're setting an intention, I want you to take a deep inhale through the nose into it, and an open mouth exhale, sigh it out. Another deep inhale through the nose, and open mouth, sigh it out. Maybe you very gently begin to make some circles with the wrists and the ankles, where you tap each fingertip to the thumb and back again. Maybe the eyes stay closed or they come to a gentle gaze, but we're gonna start lying down on our mat, so we're all already there. But our first posture is a yin posture, so we're gonna get deeper in the muscles. We're getting into that connective tissue while we're here. So from your spot on the ground, I want you to inhale those arms overhead. Take a full body stretch like you're just getting out of bed for the first time today, and then relax the body. Let the elbows come down and wide. And then I just want you to walk your feet towards the bottom right corner of your mat. We're leaving the upper body exactly where it is, but the lower body has walked over to the right. Maybe that left ankle even crosses over the right. From here, we're gonna walk the hands towards the top right-hand corner of our mat as well. So we're gonna make a crescent moon with the body here. Stretching out the side of the body. Maybe the left palm even stacks on top of the right. And we're just gonna pause here for a few moments in what we call our banana asana or crescent moon. But feel the stretch along the side of the body and use your breath to help relax the body into your mat again. We use our breath to help us find this stillness that we want in yin. So just focus on your inhales and your exhales. Those even inhales and exhales, still stretching the side of the body. Gonna be here for just a few more breaths. If the mind is wandering, bring it back to the breath. On your next inhale, don't move yet, just prepare the body for movement. Take a full breath cycle. And on your next exhale, gently walk just the hands back towards center. Leave the feet where they're at for now. Maybe once we've come back towards center with our arms, we let the elbows come down like we're in a goalpost here. And then gently uncrossing the legs on your next exhale, walk them back towards the center as well. And the body's back towards center. Inhale, hug those knees into the chest for me. Maybe you rock very gently side to side. You make some big circles on the ceiling with your knees. If we're circling, let's reverse directions. If we're rocking, we're going to keep rocking for just 2 more breaths. Coming back to stillness when you're ready, letting the left leg extend long on your mat. letting the right leg extend long on your mat. Inhale those arms overhead, let the elbows come down. We're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. You know exactly where we're headed. The feet are gonna move towards the bottom left-hand corner of your mat this time. Maybe that right ankle crosses over the left. Maybe that doesn't feel very good on this side, and so it doesn't. And once the feet feel settled, very gently walking the hands towards the top left-hand corner of your mat as well. Maybe stacking that right palm over top of the left and taking a stretch to this side. And find that stillness. Use your breath. Trying to maintain that even breath cycle. Direct your breath to any areas that are feeling pressure. Inhale into them to create some space, and exhale out of them to explore that space. Take the time to explore how the body feels different on this side than it did on the last side. Maybe it doesn't feel that different, and that's okay. Maybe different points of the body feel like they're pressing into the mat than when we started our class. Reflect on those areas that are resting on your mat and see if you can relax them into it. Just a few more breaths here on this side. On your next inhale, don't move yet. Just prepare the body for movement. Take a full breath cycle. And on your second exhale, just the hands and upper body will come back to the center of the mat. Our arms can come back down to goalpost or to a T. And on your next exhale, very gently uncrossing the legs if they're crossed and walking them back towards the center. Inhale, hug those knees in towards the chest again. Maybe we stay here. Maybe we reach on the inside of the knees for the outside of the feet and we open up to our happy baby here, rocking to side to side. You can very gently extend out one leg and then the other. And if you know what your happy baby feels like in your practice at the end of class, when we usually do it, don't judge the body for how it feels now. We're still trying to open up these muscle chains and deepen our connection to those connective tissues. Coming back to center, releasing the feet, hug the knees into the chest again. And then extending that right arm overhead, very gently just rolling to your right side, using your bicep as a cushion for your head. And then pressing into that palm to come back to seated at the top of your mat. Our next yin posture that we're going to find is called butterfly. So we know this in our yang as Baddha Konasana or bound angle. I want you to bring the soles of your feet together in front of you on your mat. But in our yang practice, we usually bring our feet pretty close to the body. In our yin practice, I want you to move your feet a little bit further away so our legs make more of a diamond shape. Inhale to find that length in the spine, crown of the head reaches toward the ceiling. On your exhale, the heart is going to guide the movement forward, and we're going to try to drip the heart down towards the feet, honoring that space between the chin and the chest. Now I want you to fold as far as your body wants to and stop when it wants. And once you've reached that point, I want you to inhale and bring that body about halfway out of the stretch. This is where we're going to pause in our yin pose. This is how we're going to get into those connective tissues instead of those muscles. Our gaze is lifted, so we're looking at the candle at the top of our mat or some other focal point of our choosing in our room. And I want you to use your even breath to find some stillness and to relax the body. If the hands are gripping onto the feet, I want you to let them go. We're keeping the shoulders out of the ears. We're trying to have a nice flat back. The gaze is still lifted. And we're just focusing on our breath. Direct your breath to any areas that are feeling some pressure or some heat. Inhale to create some space in them. Exhale to release them. And while we're here, we're not trying to fight gravity too much. So if we feel like gravity wants us to pull a little bit closer to the feet, that's fine. But we're still not bending into that yang stretch. Relax the hands. Maybe wiggle the toes. Remind them they're still there. Straighten that spine, shoulders out of the ears. You're all doing beautifully. Just focus on your breath. 4 more breath cycles here. On that 4th inhale, just prepare the body for movement. Exhale. On your next inhale, as slowly as we folded, we're very gently going to bring the body back up towards seated. Oof. We can slide our hands underneath our knees, close them very gently like a book. Maybe we bring our hands behind the body and just gently windshield wiper the knees out to the left and to the right. Beautiful. And then however is most comfortable for you to come to your hands and your knees in your tabletop position, that's where we're headed next. You will know that you're in your very best tabletop position when your wrists are stacked underneath your shoulders, your knees are stacked underneath your hips, and if you take a peek through your legs, you shouldn't be able to see your feet. But I want us to replace our wrists with our elbows and come down to our forearms here. So our elbows are directly underneath our shoulders. Just a little bit nicer to the wrists today. We have a nice flat back, and we're just going to begin to play with the spine a little bit with our breath. So when you're inhale, that belly button's going to come down towards the mat. The gaze lifts. Tailbone tilts forward towards the shoulders. Exhale, push the ground away. It's like a string is pulling the belly button up towards the ceiling, and you round that spine. Inhale, the belly button comes down, and we round into our cow. Exhale, push up into that cat. Take 4 more rounds of this at your own pace. Feeling free to exaggerate the movements as you'd like, maybe rolling up the hips and the shoulders, maybe tucking the toes on your inhale and flattening them on your exhale. And just coming back to stillness in the center whenever you're done. Pressing into those palms to come back to your tabletop with palms on the ground. I want you to flip that right palm so your fingertips face towards your knees while on the mat, and just bring each fingertip to the thumb and back again. I need to move this closer. Shake that wrist out and do the same thing with the left wrist. Flip it so that your fingertips face towards your knees. Bring each fingertip to the thumb and back again. Shake that wrist out. Flatten it on your mat. Press into those fingertips and the pads on your palm. Inhale, tuck the toes. Exhale, very gently lift the body up and back to your downward dog. Our first one of practice today, so let's be very kind to the body. Take your dog for a nice long walk. Sinking one heel towards the mat and then the other. We have one more yin posture to go. It's called dangling. And you're gonna recognize it, I guarantee. Come back to stillness whenever you're ready. Inhale, I want the gaze to move in between the hands first. Exhale, as slowly as you can with as many steps as possible. You're gonna walk forward into your forward fold at the top of your mat. Generous bend in the knees here. We're trying to get the heart as close to the thighs as we can in our traditional forward fold. So we're gonna bend our knees to do it. The yin posture we're coming to is called dangling, and it looks exactly like this. But I want you to tent your fingertips on your mat and heel toe your feet just 1 or 2 heel toes wider than your normal stance. We still have that generous bend in the knees. And then I want you to let the neck relax, and the head is actually going to dangle here. You can grasp opposite elbows, create a basket for that head. Maybe you gently sway side to side. But you're finding your stillness here in dangling in this inversion. We're gonna be here for a few breath cycles. So try to find the stillness here. Still use your breath. Notice how it changes because of us being upside down. See which parts of the body you can relax even more. Maybe the knees or the hips or the ankles or the toes. See if you can relax that neck. And let gravity just kind of guide the shoulders down towards the mat, almost like we're trying to melt that upper body down towards the mat. And you're just gonna find some stillness here. You're gonna breathe. Maybe you sway. We're definitely not locking out these knee joints. We have generous bends in them the whole time. Still focusing on our breath. Remembering it's okay to sway. Remind the body that we're slowing it down. We're trying to extend our time in that parasympathetic nervous system, that place of rest and digest. Five more breath cycles here. I know you can do it. Maybe breathing out through the mouth if that feels more comfortable for you here. And then coming back to center if we're swaying. On your inhale, just prepare the body for some movement. Take a full breath cycle. On your second exhale, you're gonna heel toe those feet out even wider than where they're at, because we're gonna sink the hips down. So those toes point out a little bit further than the heels, and you're gonna sink the hips down for our yogi squat. Arms come up right here. We're trying not to press on those knees, so they're just kind of in front of them or gently tucked in between them. But look at my feet. My entire foot is on the ground. If I'm rocking onto my heels or my toes, move your feet out wider or closer together until the whole foot can be on the mat. And just breathe here. This is where I want you to focus on that connection to the earth. So focus on your feet. Breathe some power up from the earth. We're grounding now here because dangling usually makes us feel as if we were flying just a little bit. So we're going to come back down towards the ground. Use your breath. Nice tall backs, proud spines and shoulders. Everyone looks awesome. On your next inhale, prepare the body for movement. Full breath cycle. On your next exhale, gently guide those hands down towards the ground in front of you. Ooh, and straighten those legs up. Heel toe them back in underneath the hips. Inhale for that halfway lift, tabletop back here, only if it makes you feel good. Exhale all the way back down. This time, if you have no neck or spine concerns, I want you to tuck your chin in towards your chest. And on your inhale, you're very gently going to roll the spine up, stacking the vertebrae one at a time until we come to standing. If your neck or spine is a concern for you, I want you to inhale those knees wide, those arms wider, and very slowly inhale all the way up. All of us are going to pull our hands down the midline on an exhale and open up to our Tadasana. And you stay standing in your Tadasana. I'm going to squat so that you can see me in my camera. I want you to take a peek down at your feet. If you're wobbling just a little bit because the blood pressure changes from going high and going low, take the time, recenter yourself. And then everyone look down at your feet. I want you to rock forward onto the toes and back onto the heels, and you can rock to the sides. Do this a few times until you feel really grounded and connected through the 4 spots of the foot into the ground, right behind the pinky toes, right behind the big toes, the ball of the foot, and the heel. Grounding down into the earth. Arms can flash forward, kind of like headlights. Maybe the eyes close for just a few more seconds. Notice what it feels like to have come to standing in class and how your grounding here feels different from your grounding when we were lying on our mats. Feeling nice and rooted into the ground here. We're ready to move into our gentle yang practice today. So when your body tells you it's ready, and not a second before, I want you to very gently inhale, scoop those arms up and overhead, and exhale with a nice flat back and generous bend in the knees to the earth. Inhale for that slow motion halfway lift. Offer that heart up if it feels good. Exhale back down. Fingertips come to tent on the mat. I want you to peel that left heel off first and gently float it back to a lunge. Pausing here for a moment, just noticing what the hips feel like, noticing what the feet feel like. And then I want you to pivot that back heel at about a 45-degree angle to the ground. So the left toes are still facing up towards the top left-hand corner of the mat. Our back foot is not parallel to the back of the mat. But I want you to inhale those arms, scoop up, and maybe overhead. And we've come to our warrior one here. So if we've inhaled the body up and this back knee or that back heel feel kind of funky, I want you to play with your stance. Maybe step forward, maybe step wider, whatever works for your body. Find a place between comfort and challenge. That right knee over top or behind that right ankle. Everyone looks fabulous. And I just want you to breathe here in your warrior one. Notice again how your connection to the earth has changed. How since stepping back from our Tadasana, maybe the way we feel rooted into the ground has changed. Beautiful. Those hips are still squared towards the front of our mat. Three more breath cycles here. Keeping those shoulders down and out from the ears. Beautiful. On your fourth exhale, let's pull those hands down the midline and open them up, just like we're coming to goalpost arms. We're shining that heart forward. And then maybe you take a step up with that back foot because we're coming to our pyramid. So we can lengthen out this front leg. We're not locking out that knee joint, but we're lengthening it out. And both sets of toes point forward towards the top of our mat. Beautiful. And then reaching out in front of you with the arms like you're reaching to hold on to a gift somebody's handing you. On your exhale, I want you to reach forward with the whole body and the torso comes forward. And we're gonna pause here. The arms can float here. This is harder. They can also float right here at heart center. This can be kinder to the shoulders. Nice flat backs. We have lengthened front legs. Maybe you make eye contact with that candle at the top of your mat. But we're gonna be here for 5 breath cycles. I know you can do it. The body is building up heat to help you stay here. We're grounded down through those feet. Beautiful. On your 6th inhale, if our arms are floating overhead, pull them in for me. Exhale, pour them down to the ground, and I want you to step forward very gently into our forward fold. Generous bend the knees. Whew, maybe we feel a big difference between the right leg and the left leg. Maybe we don't really, that's okay. But we can walk our fingertips to the left and to the right along the sides of the mat. We can gently just pause in our forward fold with the bent knees. Maybe you inhale very slowly for that slow motion halfway lift. Offer that heart up. Exhale back down. You know exactly where we're headed on this side. No surprises. Fingertips come to tent on the mat. I want you to peel that right foot off this side and just step it back. First to that lunge. Notice how this side already feels different from the last side. Maybe it doesn't. That's okay. And then pivot that back heel so it comes to meet the mat. Right toes are still pointing up somewhat towards the right top corner of our mat. And I want you to inhale those arms up and overhead. We're in our warrior 1 on this side. So again, make those adjustments for yourself. If your back knee or your back ankle feel kind of funky, take a step in, take a step to the side, whatever you need to do. That left knee is over top or slightly behind that ankle. And you're just gonna breathe. Try to keep the shoulders down and out from the ears. Maybe use your candle as your focal point. But imagine your breath is something that's helping you ground into the ground on this side. Ground into the ground. Ground into the earth on this side. 3 more breath cycles here. On your 4th exhale, pull those arms down the back, open that heart up, and then very gently step forward a little bit till both toes can face towards the ceiling and we can lengthen out that front leg. Beautiful. Inhale, reach those arms up like you're reaching to get a gift, and then pour it forward. The heart guides the movement forward until we've folded about halfway. We're still not locking out that front knee joint. Generous bend in it. Arms can float here or right here at heart center. And we're just gonna breathe for 5 breath cycles. Focus on your grounding. Use your breath to help you. Use your candle as your focal point. On that 5th exhale, if the arms are overhead, pull them into the heart. Bring those hands down to firm that front foot and very gently step forward. Back to our old friend, that forward fold. Beautiful. Maybe take an inhale, halfway lift, slow motion. Exhale back down. Plant your hands on the ground for me. Gently step back with the left foot and then the right foot and push back to your downward dog. And then let's bring both knees to the ground, untuck the toes, send the hips over the heels for a well-deserved child's pose. Bring those elbows to the ground. Maybe you can bring those arms back behind the body, reaching for those heels. Child's pose should be a place of restoration. We're rounded like a little river pebble. And I want you to come back to your breath. Notice how the breath has changed over the course of our class. Maybe you don't really notice that much of a change. That's okay. Maybe you notice a big change and it's not the one you were expecting. Welcome that too. Reflect on that intention if you set one. Notice maybe why you picked that as your intention. Maybe you've achieved what you set out to do. Maybe you haven't yet found it. That's okay. I want you to take another brief moment to notice which parts of the body are pressing into the earth this time. Maybe it's the third eye and the forehead, or the shoulders, the knees, the shins, the toes. If the arms are overhead, maybe the elbows and the wrists. Recognize all of those places. And just like we did at the beginning of class, use your breath to try to relax them. And imagine you were sinking into sand at the beach. You feel supported, but also a little more rested. When your body tells you it's ready. And not a second before that. If our arms are behind us, you're going to inhale them up. And very gently from this child's pose, we're going to bring our big toes together and our knees come wide, just into a wide-legged child's pose. And I want you to inhale that left arm up to the ceiling. On your exhale, you're going to thread it underneath that extended right arm and rest on that left shoulder and that left cheek. That right arm can extend out overhead, or you can tuck it back behind the lower back. Maybe you notice a pretty significant difference in the feeling of the stretch if that left palm is facing up or facing down. Maybe it doesn't feel that significant to you. That's okay. Three more breath cycles here. Notice if you can keep that heart a little bit open to the side. On your fourth exhale, that right hand, if it's tucked behind, can come back out in front of you on your mat. And you're just gonna press into the palm and float that left arm high to the sky and down to meet the right. Exact same thing on the other side, you know right where we're headed. Inhale that right arm up. Ooh. Exhale, thread it underneath the left. That left arm can stay extended out overhead or can tuck back behind the lower back. Again, notice if the stretch feels different, if that right palm is facing down or facing up. And challenge yourself to relax into this stretch. Three more breath cycles here. On your fourth exhale, if that left hand is tucked back behind the body, bring it back overhead and fly that right arm high to the sky, down to the left. Inhale up to that tabletop position when you're ready. Whew. Maybe you take the time to do some rounds of cat and cow here. Inhaling, the belly button comes down. Exhaling, you round the spine. You can make some more circles with the hips, even with the ankles. And if the breath doesn't feel great with these breath cues, you can reverse them. You inhale, the belly button comes up, and exhale it down. Maybe that feels better to your body. Taking however many rounds of cat and cow or whatever it is until you're ready. And however is most comfortable for you to come to a seated position on your mat, that's where we're headed next. And then scooting towards the top of our mat where we have enough room to lay back down behind us. If our candle's at the top of our mat, maybe just moving it to the side in case our feet extend out longer than our mat. But I want you first to plant your feet on the mat and hug the knees into the chest. Find that length in the spine. And that left hand's gonna come off and that right hand's gonna come off, and kind of like a mummy getting back into bed at the end of the day, we're all gonna lean back for a count of 7 all together. So for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all the way down. Inhale, hug those knees into the chest for me. We've been here before. Maybe you rock side to side or make some more circles on the ceiling. And then when you're ready, I want you to flex through both feet and just guide both feet down to meet the mat. Knees pointing up to the ceiling like mountains. And then we're gonna cross that right foot so that it's on top of that left quad. We're flexing through that right foot. And then reaching underneath that crossed leg for the back of this left thigh, I want you to hug the legs in towards the chest, guiding them up towards the heart. Maybe you make some circles with that left foot, if it feels good to the ankle. But your cool down in your Shavasana, or where your body really begins to thank you for the attention you've spent on it, for putting it first. So we're gonna slow the movement down. We're going to calm the heart rate, and we're going to focus on our breath so that we can let the body say thank you. Flexing through that left foot, let it come back down towards the mat. And then keeping your legs exactly where they are, you're just gonna let that right foot come down towards the left side of the mat. Now that right knee is facing up towards the ceiling and that left knee is on the ground. Arms can come to a T or to cactus arms. Maybe the gaze goes over the right shoulder. And you're just gonna enjoy the twist on this side. If you like, you have the option to stay here, or you can lengthen out that left leg and that right leg. But we're trying to keep both shoulders equally planted on your mat. So if you've lengthened out your legs and that right shoulder is popping off the mat, just bring the legs back to center, maybe bend the knees a little bit more. Awesome adjustments. Inhaling the nose back towards center first, and then using your hand to gently guide the right knee back towards center. The left leg is going to stay extended out on your mat. Hug that right knee in towards the chest for me, and then maybe up towards that right armpit. And then inhale, hug that left knee in to meet it. Let both feet come down towards the ground again, knees facing up towards the ceiling. You know exactly where we're headed on this side, no surprises. We're gonna cross that left foot on top of the right thigh this time, flexing through that left foot. We're gonna reach underneath that crossed leg for the back of the right thigh and hug the legs in towards the chest. Use your breath here. Maybe you inhale, release the stretch a little bit. Exhale, see if you can pull the legs just a millimeter closer to the heart. And then releasing that foot down towards the ground and leaving the legs exactly as they are. You're gonna let that left foot just come down to the right. Planting that left foot on the ground, that knee faces up towards the ceiling at first. Both legs are still bent. Arms can be at a T or at cactus arms. Maybe the gaze comes over that left shoulder. We're gonna start here and notice where you feel the stretch. And then maybe if you want, you can extend out that bottom leg and also that left leg. Still trying to keep both shoulders equally planted on the mat here. If this feels more uncomfortable to the body, feel free to come back to where we just were, or just to bend the knee, bring that left foot down to the ground, whatever works best for you. Direct your breath to areas that feel that pressure. Exhale to relieve them. See if you can sink into your mat just a little bit further. Two more breaths here. And then inhaling your nose back towards center. Exhale, use your hand to guide that left knee back as well. The right leg stays extended. We're gonna hug that left knee up, almost like we're trying to guide it in towards that left armpit. And then for the last time, we're gonna inhale, hug both knees into the chest. Maybe you rock side to side, or you open up to another happy baby, or you take an asana of your choice that feels good to your body and your practice, whatever that may be for you. And then whenever you're ready, you're gonna let your right leg extend long on your mat. The heel comes down and the toes point out to the side. You're gonna do the same with the left leg. Let it extend long on your mat. The toes come away from each other. The hands can splay out to the sides of the body. We like to say the palms can face up to collect energy, but today we're gonna face them down so that we can find grounding. And we're coming back to the earth where we started our class to begin with. Use your breath to calm the space between the eyebrows, to relax the jaw, let the tongue fall away from the roof of the mouth. Shavasana is secretly the hardest part of our yoga practice. It's also the best part. So just let yourself sink completely into everything that it has to offer you today. Gently beginning to bring some awareness back to the body. Wiggling the fingers and the toes. Making some small circles with the wrists and the ankles. And before we stretch and end our class, I want you to take a deep inhale through the nose and make the body heavy on your exhale through an open mouth. Deep inhale through the nose. Feel yourself become heavy on the mat. Exhale through the mouth. This time, as you take a deep inhale through the nose, you feel yourself become light on the mat, almost like you're floating. Last time, deep inhale through the nose. You feel light before you open mouth, exhale. It all away. And then I do want you to inhale those arms overhead. Take a full body stretch like you're just getting out of bed for the first time today. Very gently roll to your left side, using your bicep as a cushion for your head. I want you to spread the fingertips on that right hand wide and press into the ground to push yourself up to a seated position at the top of your mat where we're going to end class all together. Once we're here, let's inhale those arms overhead, palms to touch. We're going to exhale them down the midline and pause at the forehead. May we think kind thoughts. Pausing at the lips, may we speak kind words. And pausing finally at the heart, may we have kind intentions to ourselves and to those around us. Thank you all so much for sharing your Earth Week Candlelight practice with me today. May you all be happy. May you be safe and healthy. May you walk this earth with peace and with gratitude, and may you find the space to help others and to help yourself along the way. Namaste, yogis. Okay, thank you, everybody. I'm going to pause the recording.